Hello again. So here is another concern of hypnotherapists that comes in the question of how to shorten the session time, also the prep work time before hypnosis session. Now, my short and only answer would be one and the same every time, which saves time actually, and it is best is not to prepare before a session. However, let me explain what I mean by why I say that. So, if you think about it, a great number of hypnotherapists, coaches, CBT practitioners, NLPers find the preparation work before a session with a client too time consuming. Not all of them, though, for the same reasons. You see, for some, it is struggling to find the most powerful and transformational words or language patterns to use for transformation or breaking down a problem that their client is presenting. For some who slowly, for example, get used to doing this type of work, it is simply long hours sitting while doing the preparation work. And the rest, because something happens sometimes, like the client changes the problem that they want to work on suddenly, and no matter that they can have the problems have their similarities, you have done all that preparation work and you end up frustrated, losing focus, worrying if this is going to work, and all you ever signed up actually for was helping people. So you end up frustrated. Overall, it feels energy draining. To any that I talk to, when I said the best approach is not to prepare, their heart jumped, a bit of frustration, but another part of them because there seems to be a solution to this energy draining practice in their daily job. How so? Well, you see, I mentioned how different practitioners experience different reasons behind the pain of time it is taking the prep work. Same goes with the problems. Like they have different underlying issues. So, how can we prepare before a session when you don't know what may come up during a session? In any case, when I used to prepare before sessions due to the more traditional hypnotherapy that I was practicing, but also a more innovative one, similar in terms of starting with induction to hypnosis, I was going so in depth to analyze the presenting problem before the session that it would sometimes take me up to or more, perhaps, than 6 hours work pre and post session for one session only. So, yes, I understand. Also, the physical exhaustion, sitting in one place, not only the mental one, and the time consuming. And this is not to belittle the importance of the educational part. I take it for granted that one is not missing, right? Like working in particular niche. I would lay my hands over every book that I would come across as helpful and more in-depth information and for knowledge, like I would in the beginning even consult the DSM-5, which I didn't need as a precondition to start this type of work. So yes, prior education is not discussable, but so much from the theory when it comes to going into a session with a client, because every client will be a book of its own, will have assumptions of their own about the payoffs of their problems with their own best solutions. They will come as well. Meaning best transformative words that you try to think of before the session, as well as best language patterns or metaphors and so on. So, having said this, an organic conversation method in hypnotherapy practice is how I solved all these issues about the time challenges, energy consuming, like really a lot, etc. In this type of sessions, there is no preparation work, no after the session work, but also reduces the time in the session with the client, Why? Because the client, excuse me, is doing the best part of the work, meaning the talking as per need. Or as counterintuitive as it may sound, sometimes there's barely a minimum amount of talking. So every session looks different, but follows the same principles of the unconscious mind in action, you know. It is an actively awakened session where problems are symptoms of the real issue, so you can't really prepare for them beforehand. How it works indeed is start with a simple question like, what do you want to get out of this session? Or as simple as, what is the problem? Or what do you want to solve? You see? And from there, instead of using a technique, preparing a script, or a language pattern to induce trance, you catch the unconscious responses and utilize these in your client's favor in order for them to find their best solutions, which again will come from their unconscious once the problem or problems or the payoff of the problem starts to loosen. So you follow the client naturally with great fascination and curiosity, but without any judgment or need for controlling the session in any way. Hence, allowing the client brainstorming in their own way, whilst you sometimes are simply only witnessing the breakthroughs and the transformation. Now, speaking of these unconscious cues that I'm mentioning, they can be auditory, visual, or also emotional sometimes. And this is not to say that you are learning a body language technique or something like that. It's nothing alike. However, there are some tens of thousands of cues that no matter which one you utilize, at the right moment, you will still help your client. Here are some hints that you probably already know. And when used at this kind of structured session, seemingly in a backwards order, but moving much easier and faster forward without going backward using a timeline, but just as a structure, are enormously powerful. These are REM, speaking slowly than usual, fascination, sudden change in the speech pace, looking away sometimes, and so on. So you have the clue. As I said a bit earlier, there are literally thousands of these signs that tell you the same thing, that the practice, you will not, with practice, you will not even have to look for these, but develop a hunch that you will test on the spot, add to the context, and that's it. The rest is processing. So thank you for this brilliant question and see you in other videos like this one again soon.